In thermal radiation, we were discussing the determination of solar constant, where in the last session I have explained about the construction and working of Angstrom's pyroheliometer like this. So let me quickly recap the working process so that from there we can arrive at the determination of solar constant. Here, when both S1 and S2 are at the same temperature, then the galvanometer shows no deflection. When S1 is exposed to radiation from the sun, its temperature rises and galvanometer shows some deflection. Now, through this circuit, current is allowed to pass through the strip S2 and its strength is so adjusted with the help of rheostat that the galvanometer shows no deflection. Under this condition, the temperature of both are the same, that is the rate at which heat is supplied to both is same. The heat energy supplied to S2, the second strip, it can be calculated from the known values of current and potential difference, that is the ammeter and voltmeter readings in the electrical circuit. If you take capital A, the alphabet, as the area of cross section of the strip and small a as its absorption coefficient, then we can calculate the energy absorbed or solar radiation received per minute per square centimeter as Vi into 60 divided by capital A into small a into 4.2 calories per centimeter square per minute in minute. Here the 4.2 is the joule conversion value. Capital A is the area of cross section. Small a is the absorption coefficient. V and I are potential difference and current that are taken from the ammeter and voltmeter readings. And since we are using 60, that is here nothing but per minute we are taking, therefore it is taken as 60. Now this experiment was performed several times on the same day under constant sky conditions with different elevations of the sun. So the average value of solar constant was then calculated by performing the experiment throughout the year. On this basis, the observed value of the solar constant is taken as capital S and the true value of solar constant is taken as S0. This observed and true values S and S0 are connected by the relation S equal to S0 into T power sec Z, where the T is the transmission coefficient of the atmosphere and Z is the zenith distance of the sun. Zenith distance of the sun is nothing but angular altitude. So based on this, if you take logarithm on both sides, you will get log S equal to log S0. This is m, log m into n, na? Log m plus log n, like that. Yes, if you take logarithms, on the left side you have log S, on the right hand side you have log S0 plus log m power n, that is n log n, like that. Secant value this is. So sec Z log t. So this is the logarithm value we will have. So from the experimental data, we can draw a graph between log S on y-axis and sec Z on x-axis. Then it may look like this one shown here. The graph comes out to be a straight line as shown here. The intercept of the straight line on y-axis gives the value of log S0. From this value of S0, S0 can be calculated. The value of S0 comes out to be 1340 watt per meter square. That is nothing but 1.937 calorie per centimeter square per minute. Or you can convert into 8100 joules per meter square per minute. That's how solar constant is calculated. Now let us see, based on this, how do we arrive at measurement of temperature of sun. When you look at measuring the temperature of the sun, let us understand various shells involved in the sun interior. The sun consists of a central hot core having a temperature of 20 million degrees. The boundary of this central core is a thick shell, what is called as photosphere. Temperature of the sun usually means the temperature of the photosphere, which is around 6000 degree Kelvin. After that, nearly from up to 3 to 400 kilometers, a thick layer is found, which is called a reversing layer. This contains most of the elements in gaseous state. So, if you extend this, the extension of the reversing layer is what is known as chromosphere. This is only seen during the total solar eclipse. And finally, the outer gaseous layer, which extends to more than 500,000 kilometers, is what is known as corona. Now, like this, different parts of sun are being shown as layers. So, by knowing the value of solar constant and assuming that the sun is a perfectly black body, the temperature of the sun can be calculated. So, by taking the radius of the photosphere of the sun as capital R, then we can find the surface area of it as 4 pi r square. So, if you take the absolute temperature of the sun as T degree Kelvin, then we can apply Stephan's law for finding the amount of energy emitted by sun per minute. So, accordingly, Stephan's law gives us the amount of energy emitted by the sun per minute can be calculated as 4 pi r square into sigma T power 4 into 60. This is because for minute. This is the area. This is Stephan's. Sigma is the Stephan constant. Now this energy, what we are calculating here, is spread in all directions. So therefore, let us consider a sphere of radius small r concentric with the sun, where r being the distance of the earth from the sun. Then this radiated energy will be spread over the surface area 4 pi r square. If S is the solar constant, then the energy received by the surface 4 pi r square per minute can be calculated as 4 pi r square into S. Okay. Now, when it is distributed across all directions, these two should be equal. Theoretically, we found it to be amount of energy emitted by sun per minute is found to be 4 pi r square into sigma T power 4 into 60. That should be equal to energy received by that area. So, therefore, this 4 pi r square into sigma T power 4 into 60 must be equal to 4 pi r square S. So, by equating that, we will get 4 pi r square into sigma T power 4 into 60 equal to 4 pi r square S. Now, mathematically, we can strike off 4 pi here on either side, and you will be left with capital R square sigma T power 4 into 60 on the left side, and right side you have small r square S. So, from this we can calculate the T power 4, T is the temperature. So, keeping T power 4 only on the left hand side and by sending the remaining quantities to the right side, then you will be getting T power 4 equal to SR square divided by 60 into capital R square into sigma. So from there, then T will be, you can simplify as small r square by capital R square. So you can write as small r by capital R whole square into S by 60 into, by calculating this value. This is 1 by sigma whole power 1 by 4. So this is the expression for measuring the temperature of the sun. So in MKS system, you can write like this. Simply this will go R by R whole square into S by sigma. Capital S by 60 will not come in MKS system. Now anyway you are taking for seconds. So therefore in this equation, by knowing the values or by determining the values of the constants like solar constant S, radius of the outer sphere capital R, radius of the concentric first circle you are taking small r, and the Stefan's constant sigma. So by knowing the values of capital S, small r, capital R and sigma, you can calculate the temperature of the sun. So based on that, let me give you a brief idea and introduction about something what is very popular, known as quantum theory of radiation. We have studied earlier that the intensity of thermal radiation emitted by a black body is not uniformly distributed over the whole range of wavelengths in the continuous spectrum emitted by it. Experimentally, it has been observed that when a blackened platinum wire is electrically heated, it becomes dull red at about 500 degrees centigrade, cherry red at about 900 degrees centigrade, orange red at 1100 degrees centigrade, yellow at 1200 degrees centigrade, and of course you can add, finally at 1600 degrees centigrade, it has become white. Now interestingly, this showed that as the temperature rises, the radiation emitted contain more and more of shorter wavelengths of emission. That means this is showing that as the temperature is rising, the maximum intensity of emission is shifting towards the shorter wavelength side. So in that situation, from the years 1893 to 1897, for a period of 4 years, two great personalities, Loomer and Prinksium, carried a series of researches on the energy distribution in the spectrum of a black body radiation and draw experimental curves for it, which we have seen earlier. Attempts were made by these scientists to explain the experimental curves obtained in the spectral energy distribution of the black body. Around that same time in 1893, William Wien, in order to find the actual distribution of energy in thermal spectrum, tackled the problem thermodynamically and obtained these two interesting relations as lambda mt equal to constant, which we have anyway derived, means displacement law, and e lambda t power minus 5 equal to constant. These two were thermodynamically solved by Wien, where lambda m is the wavelength corresponding to temperature T and E lambda is the emissive power, that is quantity of radiation emitted per square centimeter per second at a given temperature. So the amount of energy contained in a spectral region between the wavelengths lambda and lambda plus d lambda, what we call as Wien energy distribution, is given as dE is equal to E lambda d lambda, that is nothing but k into lambda power minus 5 into e power minus a by lambda t d lambda. Lambda t d lambda. Now here a and k are constants. This formula is found to be valid for shorter wavelengths, but it's not valid for longer wavelengths. And therefore, in order to remove this shortfall from the Wien's formula discrepancy, two more scientists popularly known as Rayleigh and Jeans, they have developed a theory for the spectral distribution of black body radiation by the application of electrodynamics and statistical mechanics. They derived this formula. dE is equal to E lambda d lambda, that is equal to 8 pi lambda power minus 4 kt d lambda. Now down the line we shall see how Rayleigh and Jeans have derived this equation theoretically. Now here k is nothing but the Boltzmann constant. So according to Rayleigh-Jeans formula, the value of E lambda at a given temperature increases rapidly as lambda decreases and approaches infinity for a shorter wavelength. Only for shorter wavelengths it will work out. That means this is not true. According to this law, Rayleigh-Jeans formula, the value of E lambda at a given temperature increases rapidly as lambda decreases and approaches infinity for very shorter wavelengths. This is not true, found to be not true. Later, another scientist, namely Paschen, showed that Rayleigh and Jeans formula is correct for longer wavelengths only. That means neither Wien's law nor Rayleigh-Jeans law could explain the energy distribution over the entire range of wavelengths. So these laws are derived on the basis of classical mechanics. The failure of these laws to explain the entire range of spectrum suggests that classical mechanics cannot apply to energy associated with wavelengths. Then in that situation, in the year 1905, another great personality called Max Planck, a German physicist, enunciated a quantum theory of radiation. So according to quantum theory, a blackbody radiator contains simple harmonic oscillators of molecular dimensions. The energy changes takes place discontinuously and discretely as an integral multiple of a very small unit of energy is what is known as quantum. Based on quantum theory, Planck deduced this formula. Anyway, we shall see that later as far as derivation is concerned. So right now take it as dE is equal to E lambda L lambda. He found it as 8 pi hc by lambda power 5 into 1 by e power ch by lambda kt minus 1 d lambda, where h is the Planck's constant and c is the velocity of light. Now this law, Planck's law, holds good for all wavelengths. So therefore this law naturally reduced Wien's law to shorter wavelengths and Rayleigh-Jeans law to longer wavelengths. So Max Planck's idea of quantum theory was so revolutionary to allow its immediate acceptance in the scientific community. In fact, based on that, in the year 1905, the great man Albert Einstein applied this quantum concept of radiation to explain the photoelectric effect, which could not be solved on the basis of classical theory. Einstein also explained successfully the problem of specific heat in the year 1907. In 1913, Niels Bohr used this idea in his analysis of atomic structure and origin of spectral lines. And based on this quantum concept only, in the year 1922, Compton applied this quantum idea to the phenomena of scattering of X-rays. This is how we can see the introduction of quantum theory of radiation. Based on that, we shall see how Rayleigh-Jeans formula can be applied, how Max Planck radiation formula can be derived, and from that Planck's approach, how we can derive different laws from Planck's radiation formula. That we shall see in the next session.